So hi guys, and welcome back for another short video here on the channel. Today we're going to go through the Canon R3 latest firmware update, just to quickly discuss should you upgrade it and should you not. It's entirely up to you at the end of the day. My reasons for doing it are I like to have the most up-to-date firmware. I've just recently done a video on the R7's latest update as well, when the R3's update was brought out. You can watch that in the link above if needed. There's slightly different things that have changed for the Canon R3 compared with the Canon R7, as you'd expect. So there's a few more things there. We're going to run through that as well, guys. So it's a personal choice whether you want to upgrade your firmware or not. You know, if your camera's working, fine without it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, is a good analogy to have. But for me, I like to have the latest firmware updates on my camera. Usually, as I've said many times before in my other videos, is that usually I leave it at least a week, if not 2 weeks, for the firmware release, and then to see if there's any more glitches with that new firmware. If there is any glitches, Canon generally bring out a patch and then we'll fix that. But at the moment, it's been problem-free as far as I'm aware with the Canon R3. If anybody's got any anything contrary to that, please let us know in the vlog description below. But today we're going to upgrade from my current version, which was the last one, which was back in March, which is 1.71, and we're upgrading to 1.8.0, and that's the latest one, and we'll go through some of those fixes as well. Okay guys, obviously one of the things to remember as well is when you're upgrading your firmware is to make sure you're in program P mode. That's the preferred mode. That's like the auto mode. I've done it in other modes, but program P is as specified by Canon in the PDF document that comes when you do download the new firmware. So have it in program P mode and then go through the menu systems there, and then obviously upgrade to that new version as well there, guys. But I like to have the most latest and best if I can. Any patches in there, and there's at least I think 4 or 5 in this latest release. It is quite quickly actually, since they've released one from back in March I think to this one now. Generally they'll have maybe 1, maybe 2 a year, dependent on what they need to do regards the bugs, the fixes that people are, you know, are witnessing out in the field and stuff like that. But yeah, so as I said, make sure, guys, when you got your camera that memory card is empty. Generally format your memory card. Make sure you've got a fresh, full battery. Now, even though the firmware doesn't take very long, you still want a full battery. You don't want a battery that's going to shut off halfway or towards the end of a firmware update. It can really mess your camera up and lead into a few issues there. So make sure you've got a fresh, decent battery with a good recharge as well on there. And that's pretty much all you need. And we're going to go through now on the computer what the latest fixes are for the Canon R3. And then we're going to install the new firmware and hopefully all good to go for the next photo shoot. Okay guys, here we are on the main page then for Canon Europe. Gone straight into Google, typed Canon EOS R3 latest firmware update. It's come up with Canon Europe, Canon North America or Canon Asia, etc. Choose which one you want. I use Canon Europe because that's what I've always used. Okay, come to the menu here, Canon EOS R3, click on the firmware. Up it comes with the latest firmware. As you can see there, release date 20th of September 2024. So I'm a Mac user, so I'll install the Mac version. To get more details on that, click the More Details tab. Just bring the drop-down menu, and there we are. We can go through those new firmware updates. Okay, guys, there's a few there, and we'll just go through those verbatim, word for word, slow time. Okay, so the first one, adds brackets protect images and brackets rating during FTP transfer. So that's file transfer protocol there, guys. That just adds a protect images and a rating for it in that transfer mode there. Quite self-explanatory. Okay, 2, adds the ability to select wired as a connecting option when airplane mode is set to on. Okay, that's only applicable there, guys, if you want to have a wired connector if airplane mode is set to on. Okay, so that could be applicable to you in some situations. Okay, the following issues have been fixed. Fixes an issue in which when Wi-Fi is disconnected, error 70 occurs. Error 70 is quite a wide error code for Canon, but obviously that then shows you what that issue is for. Not encountered that one myself. So 3.2 fixes an issue in which when shooting subjects that are smaller in the frame, the card access indicator blinks and operations can no longer be performed. Now, I've had little moments like this when this has happened, especially when shooting small birds on single focus point. So that could be a really, really good fix, guys. And I have seen my indicator blink quite a lot before, which I was wondering why it's doing that. 3.3 fixes an issue in which while operating both the touch function on the LCD monitor and a customized button, then performing shooting, operations can no longer be performed. So quite an important one there as well, guys. If you are using both a touchscreen function on the LCD and a customized button, when you're shooting, operations can no longer be performed. So that's a bit of a frustrating one. So a really, really good fix there, guys. And the last one there is 3-4, fixes an issue in which when performing shooting in high-speed continuous shooting plus mode with the highlight tone priority option set to on, focus may not be achieved when certain ISO speed settings are used. So another really, really important fix there, guys. You know, there's some good fixes in there which potentially some of us have noticed or maybe not noticed. Okay, so really, really good, guys. These are ones that I'm going to certainly upgrade as soon as, really. So, guys, I think you all agree there that, you know, there are really good fixes in there. Whether you've come across those or not, you know, it's a really, really good thing to do, especially, you know, some of those with the AF, especially some of those with the touch screen, and also with the blinking as well. Now, I've had that myself. So some really, really good fixes there, guys. And like I said, it's down to you whether you want to install that firmware update or not. If you want the existing firmware you've had on there for a while, you know, go for it. But for me, I like to have the latest and best. And like I've said before, you know, it's been out for a few weeks now. As I said there, that came out on the 20th of September, and now we're on the 4th of October. So 2 weeks or so there, near enough. We've had that out, so I haven't heard of any problems since then. Okay, so now we're going to quickly go into downloading and then installing the firmware on the R3. So now we've had a look, guys, at the description. You've got the compatibility there, file details, applicable models, etc. It'll just say R3 because you've got the R3 firmware update. Okay, quite simple to the download. Disclaimer there, download. Downloading now. So I'll close this window down. And there we have, it's uploading EOS R3 V180 Mac DMG. Click on that and it should bring it up on my desktop, which is there. Double click that on my desktop and there we have it, guys. We have EOS R3 version 1.8.0 firmware. Procedures in there, guys, as well. If you want to open that up, you've got that in English. It'll tell you all about what to do. Card in the camera, obviously, make sure it's fully formatted, make sure you've got a full battery power, have it in program P mode, etc. So you've got the PDF document there in different languages as well if needed. And all we do now, guys, is we get the card out of the camera. So I'm taking my CF Express Type B card, popping it into the reader. Should flash up on the desktop. There we go, EOS Digital. So what we want now, guys, is what we don't want to do is drop the firmware file here. We don't want to drop that into a subdirectory. We want to drop that into the root directory of the card. There we have it. Job done. Straight away, that's that. Once you finish that, you can exit that. You can then eject that part. Make sure that you eject your card safely from the computer. It has done. So now we have the CF Express Type B card with the firmware version file on. We'll pop that in the camera. Okay, locked in. Okay, now pop the battery in. So that's a fresh battery, guys, as I said before. And now we go through the installation process. So switch the camera on. So we go through the menu systems. So we're looking for the spanner menu and we scroll along to submenu 6 and currently firmware version 1.7.1. Okay, there. So we click on that now. It's quite self-explanatory, guys. We click on that. Current firmware version is 1.7.1. Update firmware. Okay. So it loads up the firmware update program. So it currently says firmware updated program. Update firmware 1.7.1 to 1.8.0. Okay, you can't use the touchscreen on here, guys, because it's disabled in case you press anything by mistake with your hand. So you have to use the old wheels as well there and the button in the middle. So we just go, okay, click set button in the middle, update firmware. And what you want to do now, guys, is updating. Just leave it well alone. Pop the camera down, don't touch any buttons, and leave it update. So that'll take however long it takes. Could take a couple minutes, could take a little bit longer. So we're currently on 1% and it's going up quite slowly. So it's quite a significant upgrade here, guys, on the old firmware. But that's all you need to do. And once it's finished doing that, it tells you it upgraded from a certain number to the current latest version. You click OK, it resets the camera, comes back on, job done. And say, guys, I've never ever had a problem with a firmware update ever in all the time that I've been a photographer and since I've had digital cameras. I mean, it's a long, long time, guys. We're talking 20 years and I've never had an issue, and I've always done firmware updates because that's what happens. You get fixes all the time, even though they're tried and tested rigorously. There's always times where things do manifest and things do happen in certain operating environments, certain temperature ranges, humidity, cold, warm environments, etc. You know, these things do happen. So for me, vitally important that we get that updated, and it's on 3%, so it's really quite slow, this one. And just leave it well alone, guys. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the vlog description below. It'd be great to hear. If you've had any issues with the R3, there has been quite a lot with the R7. As I said, guys, link above if you want to watch the one on R7, if you have an R7. You know, and as I said, guys, it's a personal choice. You know, it's not down to me to tell you that you should be upgrading. This is the only reason why I do it. It's because I want the latest and best. And as I said, it's been out 2 weeks and it should be absolutely fine. But thanks very much indeed for watching, guys. We'll see you all in the field for the next video. If not, we'll see you here again for a retro review or another review. But thanks as always, guys. I'll see you all next time.